Hey folks, welcome in, welcome in. How are we all? I know it's been a while. Um, just life, isn't it? No, school holidays and all that for the kids, and just really not had time to stream because of it. So yeah, and the heat as well, just a big no-no. But we're back in hardcore today. I've got a whole load of stuff that I need to get collected and done. So basically, getting straight into it. Straight into it. Sure, let's see. Well, I am on my sheep farm, but I need to go and collect a whole load of materials to get started for builds. Now, I have no idea what the builds are. I need to this one, and moss. Is it moss? I found a really good moss farm that I need. Oh, is it not there anymore? Bone meal farm, no moss farm. This one. Is it this one? Yes, this is the one. I need the schematic download. Let's get this open. Then I need to nighttime open this. Just makes it quicker for me. Go to the schematics. No, that one. Is that finished? It has. One meal farm. Oh. Oh. Okay. Oh my gosh, what one do I need? I think. Is it the full thing? I don't know what. I'll pull them all in and we can see. That just means I need to go out of here and into create a flat world. I know. Join. I have coffee. I have some juice. Oh, I'm in spectator mode for some reason. Right, and I'll bring that up. Schematic, no, load. This one. Right, so we have a 12 module. We'll load that in. Pop that there. Oh wow, that is very big. Where does this go? Just paste that all in. Didn't want to do that. That was my shaders. I didn't mean that. Oh, I've completely lagged out my game now. Cool. Magic. Jeez. Turn them off, please. Right. Have I changed the placement key again? Place. No, be on hotkeys. Paste. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. That's why you numpty. That one. Turn that off. Wait, so how does this work? How do I turn this on? And this is supposed to be unload proof. Click the lever to toggle the farm. Now, I don't know if I want all 12 of these in because I don't even know where the outputs are. I'm guessing this is the outputs here. Wait, where's the lever? I need to pull the lever. I see no lever. Maybe it's... Huh. I'd done something. Oh, I'm guessing that... let's see. No. Where is the output? This must be the output. And then that's the input. And then stone, lava, and that's here. Right, okay. So where's the lever? Because these are all coming down. So is a lever up here somewhere? Oh, I see a lever. Faster than what that is. So what's for the barrels are just placeholder blocks. And then the chest storage is what keeps the... Right, okay, so that's not what I need. So what I need is the water version. Now, is the 12 module going to be killing it? That's the compact version. And from what I'm seeing... You know what, let me just quickly double check that this is what I'm seeing. This is not a 2x2. So this is just one. So this doesn't get me the 10,000. That means I need the 4 module 10,001. This one. Off actually, just press 3. Okay, so the water streams line up here. Yeah, that's the kind of idea that I want. Because I need this to be filtered into the other farms. Now this is supposedly the 10,000 bone meal an hour farm. But they're tileable. And so I can get more and more. But there is a vertical one here. Ooh. Oh, that might actually... Yeah, because then that has the... Yeah, so if we do this and this one, load, Pop that down. Let's fire this off. So that should generate so much bone meal an hour. If that was 10,000, this should be 40,000 bone meal an hour. And does this replenish itself though? I think it does. Yeah, down here. Yeah, so it's replenishing itself. Yep, and we're still getting bone meal from here. And all the other ones up here. Oh. And then that means we can direct this into the actual farms that I need. So that's a lot of items. Figure, materials. Grab this. Have all the items I need. That's a lot of stuff. So I can then go and put this into my resource block thing that I use. Then get a whole load. Like a whole list of what I need done. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I now know what I need to do and get. So my next effort is to put that on the resource garden thing. So what's it called again? It's the resource calculator. Now I don't know when the last time this was updated or whatever, but it really does need an update. I will say that. So let's see. Let's go through this list. So I need the barrels. I need 240 of those. Blocks of iron. That's all right. We can get that easily. That is 187. 12 chests. Not too bad. Composter. I need 192 composters. Now this is just for one farm. For one of the other farms that I want to do. Is that a bit overkill then? Yeah. That. No, I didn't mean to do that, but that's fine. I can easily just up on this. So yeah, I think that's way too overkill. That's phantoms. Oh, when's the last time I slept? Jeez, oh, I actually cannot remember. I have done so much. Actually, do you know what? I have done the gold farm and I AFK'd at it and had to fix a lot of that because updates to Minecraft. But I did repair all my tools and stuff like that, so that's good. A whole shulker box of tools is all updated. Hey, Bones. Right, let's sleep quickly. And then we will pull all of that back up. And I'm meant to do that. Right, let's pull that. I want the water stream collection one, so material list to file. And I need to pull that file up. Right, let's open the resource thing. So I had composters up already, so we'll just do that. I need a stack of them. Ooh, a stack for every 4. It's not too bad. I don't know, because I'm going to need to do this at least 8 or 9 times, and I think getting the 12 module one for the flower fields is going to be so much better. Block. Cannot spell block. Still cannot spell. BLO, not BLC. And that is 67 blocks of iron. 4 chests. And this gives me the individual itemized items that I need, which I love. I wish I had something like this, like in game, that I could look at. What was that? Dispenser? Yeah, so I need droppers. I don't have a lot of these, so I'm gonna have to do quite a number of resource gatherings for this. 104 droppers. No, I need 4 droppers. I need the 104 dispensers. Let me just double check I put that in properly. I did. Right, hoppers is a lot. That's 136. Ooh, it's raining. Levers. We need 1. For all the glass. Jeez. Glass. Let's see. Light blue stained glass. I need 54. Is there any other glass there? White stained glass. I need 323. Is that all the glass? Yep, that's all the glass. Moss. Block 4. Obviously. Now, I don't know if this actually can get turned into like a moss farm, but even if it was, I don't think I would use it. So I need 64 notebooks. Jeez. Doors. 41. Observers. Need a lot of observers. 246 observers. Jeez, oh. Thank gosh I have that bartering farm now, because I get, what do you call it, quartz with that. What was on? Piston? Piston. I need 97 pistons. Powered rails. I need a lot of that, so gold is going to be a must for that one. 92. Purple. Ooh. Purple stairs. I could probably like switch these out, but you know what? I think I'll just use them. Right, I need loads of redstone. Need redstone comparators. I need 2 of them. I need 12 dust. 13 repeaters. There's some lightning. 1 torch. That's it. Right, sand. I need... Where's the normal sand? Why is it all the way over there? Jeez, oh. Need 1 sand. Shroom lights. I need 48 shroom lights. Stone brick wall. A lot of lightning. 30. Do you know what? I can feel that my voice still isn't right after I got strip throat. Water. Saying I need a lot of water. I could probably just do that as ice, because that would be easier to count. 24. Do you know what? No, because I don't need to count that. Done the white stained glass. Like, calculate resources. Here we go. Shulker box wise, the only one that's massive is the cobblestone. I need 1 shulker and 13 stacks. Oh, 14 stacks. So, not too bad. But yeah, 4 stacks of nether quartz. Okay, so I've got a lot of gathering. Let's see. What's the massively major one I need right now? Am I live on Twitch? I should be live. Yeah, it says I'm live. That's weird. Right, what was it doing? Completely forgot. That one. Fill these up again. Move them to the side a bit so I can actually see what I have to get. Right, okay. Right, I think the first one we're going to start with is sleeping because obviously turning lighting is very dangerous. Oh, it's nice. Okay, first one is going to the end, but I do obviously need. Oh yeah, actually, do you know what? I'll check in storage first, just in case. You never know, like when I have a load of stuff just lying about. I could have hundreds of stuff lying about. Oh, my throat is still iffy. I was like, sorry about that. I had to clear my throat. I have no idea why it's still so bad. That back open. Nah, right. Let's see. So I might have a load of purple in here. That would be nice. Oh, nope. Oh, but there's barrels in there. Barrels I need. Let me just triple check. I'm not seeing any purple. Seeing everything else that I pretty much need. Nothing there. Definitely no purple in there. No. I thought I had purple. But I had a load of purple. I guess not. Okay. Ooh, I nearly flew away there, but I need my rocket box first. Do that. Right, let's go at the end. Okay, down here. I'm going the nether way. Oh, there's a... I nearly killed myself for a silly thing to do. Who's bones again? Oh my gosh. I've lost him. Again. Oh, I nearly killed myself the other day. I put soul speed on these and... No, I didn't. Oh, I did. Weird. Okay, I thought I put soul speed on these and I try to run on it. Right before I die. So you follow me here, but not when I'm somewhere else. You absolute weirdo. Right, let's get through here. I love having Voxy on, by the way. Look at this. Just see everything around me. No idea what that is. Get to our first one. Right, so what did I need? I needed purple stairs. Let's see. It says I only need 16 chorus fruit, but that's not what I need. Item used. Purple. I just need 16 stairs. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Nice. See, that was so easy. Maybe I can get back to this without actually falling down. Oh, Kaylin, how's it going? I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey Jess, how are you? Slowly getting wee. Hey, is that supposed to take us back to the spawning platform? Right, Bones, you no, you're supposed to be following me. You weirdo. Right, so I've got the purple done. That's easy. Right, so now I don't actually have a shulker box. Whoops. Right, we need to go and get a shulker box because I need to get, what's that, 22 stacks of iron ingots. Which equates to... How many blocks of iron was it again? 67. 1 stack and 3. I could easily get that. Wow, that's still going. Oh, there's an empty shulker box right there. Nice. We'll get that down for that one. Get another one for the iron and stuff. Because that's nearly a full... Oh no, because I only need 60 something iron. Oh, I've had that for ages, Kaelin. I have an iron farm. That should be alright. But what was it for? It was for 67 iron blocks. Which I should have already. Oh, 67 iron blocks. Perfect. So that's the iron out of the way. I need a lot of sand, but that's for glass. I can easily get glass from villagers. Actually, do you know what? I think that's already all stacked up. I'll head over there and see if it's actually done. Down we go. So how much do I need? 6 stacks in one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8, and 1. Nice. That was handy. I've done that. Coal I'll probably not need. Bone we can get. I'll just be bone meal. Redstone dust. I need 14 stacks. 1, 2, 3. Check that's all first. I like the mustache, my friend. Wait, do you not have... I do. Who's that? Right, so what did I need? 14? 1, 2, 3. That's 9, 10, 11. Almost. Where's bullshit? Oh, can't get it. Nope, not getting it. I lost my emeralds. That should be more than enough. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then it's only 3. Nice. String's down here. In fact, I really need to put my sword back down there. I keep forgetting it. Here, I have a space spider farm in here. Sword goes in there, and I need string. Yeah, I forgot what word's that. How much do I need? I need 4 stacks and 56. Just like that. And I forgot that shulker box upstairs. Whoops. It's fine. I do need to come here and do a wee AFK session here to get some more string. I've got loads of spider eyes, but absolutely zero string on it. Hey Grind, how are you? Yeah, I know. I'm counting how many stacks I need. Whee! Wait, what's next on my list? Because I've got the string. I can jump down and get the moss and the bone meal. I need to remember to put a door in there. Keep forgetting. I'm going to need to be back in a wee second. Give me a tick. Right, sorry about that. I'm back. Yeah, my kid went to the toilet and bounced along the floor, and I thought somebody had dropped a massive bomb or something, because it was very, very loud. Right, what was it doing? Oh yeah, bone meal and moss blocks. Bone meal. Hey Dave, how you doing? Welcome in. Yeah, I have these moss farms here. I know. Oh, why have you been running? Oh, that's not good. Do have... Let's take a stack of bone meal just to be safe. Should never not be too safe. It's coming this off just now. Ah, see? What has happened here? Oh, she's fine. Oh my goodness me. Sorry about that. Okay, I think I've got it all. No, there's a bit here. I'm just going to go in and double check. Yeah, I've got most of it. Ah, so weird how this breaks every so often. I don't get it. Anyway, I don't need that anymore. I will probably be like deleting these farms anyway, so because they aren't working the way I wanted them to. I need 4 pieces of this. Yeah, I'm going to be needing to put in completely new farms. There is better farms out there, especially this new bone meal one, which is awesome. Oh yeah, always a chaotic one, Jess. Always a chaotic one. First time back in a couple of months, and it's all over the place as usual. Sleep just in case. Right, so I've got the moss blocks, I've got the bone meals, cornflowers. I do not have. Just double check my chests here. I'll have cornflowers somewhere. This is one of the reasons why I'm wanting to get the foliage stuff done, because when I'm needing something, it's better to have it somewhere stored that I can go to, rather than trying to find it in all of my chests. Ow. Hey, Bones. Right, we'll go down here. Right, cornflower. Get Lily of the Valleys. That's not like me. Nope. 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 Probably going to have to go and do a quick bone meal session. Can I find bone meal? Oh, I've got 3 stacks of nail course here. 2, 3. I mean, so I'll go to the bartering farm. Oh, could not find the words for that one. I got a blue. I got blue. I got this stuff. This is the same. That'll give me blue dye. And so all I need the thing for anyway. I need to go and get another 56 quartz and a stack and a half of gold ingots and then the shroom lights. Coal, I don't think I'll need. Stone and oak logs. Ooh. Yeah, I think we'll leave that now. We'll go to the nether first. Now, I've got a mod that allows the pets to teleport to me wherever they are. And it's supposed to allow them to go through dimensions, but it doesn't seem to work. See what I mean? Bones is supposed to be able to come through while I'm here. Why is this on? Okay, so I need 48 shroom lights. Oof. I should. Oh. Good thing I've got these ones. Pop that back. Right, so I need 48. Oh, gosh. Hello. Bye-bye. You can bugger off as well. Yeah, there's another farm I need to get built up. No, that was glowstone. The nether stuff. The nether trees. Oh, my throat. It's still, like, so dodgy. Hello. Got it. That was a sore landing, though. I ain't getting up there. What, Kaelin? You feeling alright? You seem to be very, ooh, hallucinating. Yeah, I don't know what's that woman makes sense. Been... Hello? Can I have that back? Please? Why did you steal my shroom light? It's my shroom light. What was I talking about? Ooh! Who shot me? You. Yeah, I forgot what I was talking about there. Don't die. Oh my god, what is up with me? I am not paying attention to this at all. Oh, there's a big hog on there as well. What am I going? I don't want to get in with that guy, so... Oh, I didn't look at him, cool. Yeah, I'm getting shot by random piglins. Oh, did I look at him there? No, I did not. This guy really wants me to look at him for some reason. Please go away, Mr. Enderman. Right, I need to get back up to here. There's a hoglin. Die, Mr. Hoglin. Thank you. I don't need your raw pork chops, but... You know, zombie piglin. I see you coming at me. And you. Oh, I knocked that one off. Sorry, my kid's being a hassle right now. I might need to cut this short and go and deal with her. Oh, look at that, 48, bang on. Right, cool. Get that one locked off. Right, let's get up to the roof. We'll get to the bartering and go for it. Should really put this stuff away. Yeah. The rest is just rubbish. Oh. Sorry. The kid's just... Hey, Antonio. How are you? Ooh, welcome in. Alright, let's see. I really need to label these because I can't remember where the quartz is. This one. Right, so I need 56. That's all that. That. Right, so I've got that. Got that. Got that. Got that. Got that. And the rest is just the stuff I need. Right, that's fine. I need gold. How am I actually doing for gold? Because this should be on bartering mode. Yep. Alright, gold mode. What is that? It gives me a block. I need stacking 32. So I'm going to need to quickly go do some pigman killing. This is going to be... I am currently gathering a lot of resources for the next big build, which is like 7 or 8 flower forest farms sort of stuff, and I need a bone meal farm for every single one. Oh, I'm an idiot. To have enough stuff, I have stuff. But yeah, I need a bone meal farm for every single one of them. So I'm currently gathering resources for the first farm. That's gold ingots that I cannot reach. So yeah. Can I just do that for it? Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be really loud. Let's turn this down just now. Where we go? And I will just turn it on. Oh. Yeah. So yeah, I've got what is it? 7 areas that I need to put a farm in. One is a flower forest, and that needs, gosh, I don't know how many different flowers. Which, how many is there? That's an actual question. Let's go to the wiki. And tulips. That's the wrong place to search. Tulips. How many variations of them? 2, 3, what? There's only 4. I thought there was so much more than that. Yeah, there's only 4 tulips. Oh my goodness me. But yeah, I need alliums and whatever I don't get in planes. So, yeah, so 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 farms in the flower forest. So yeah, so 6 farms in the flower forest. I need another 6 out with that as well. So I need to build 12 bone meal farms, or 6 and 1 huge one. So yeah, I've got a lot to do. Yeah, I've got a lot to do. Oh, but yeah, I actually forgot. I have got 10 free gifts and memberships to give out tonight, which is awesome. I give out 5 just now, while I remember. Woo woo. Oh, nice. Lowe's just got one. Oh, that's awesome. Why is that like that? Oh, that's fine. Right. I think... What do you think? We think we're done? I don't know. Probably not. I can knock the quartz and the gold off. Then it's just the cobblestone, stone, and the oak logs. I need a lot of that stuff. Why is this not shown? Oh, did I turn it off, didn't I? Dead. Oops. Alright, that should be working now. Okay, right, let's see. Did I turn it off? I turned it off now. We'll jump down. Gonna get attacked by all the piglins as they come out. Yeah, there was so much I had to fix of this. It was quite bad. Right, how are we doing? At least one? Whoa, 36. That's way more than enough. I only need, what, stack and 32. There's a stack and there's 32. So I can that back in there. And that should go back through and yep, perfect. Oh, some nuggets. Oh, I think I just broke it. I did. That was supposed to go in there. Where did the other one go? Huh. In there is. Try not to break this thing. Right, where's my. Throw them in there. That's just for powdered rails. Power rails. So that's fun. Yeah, I can leave that running, it's fine. Right, let's get back to the overworld. Dum 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 dum. Oh no, I got it. Thankfully I've got the farms now. I've got the Barton farm, the gold farm. So I got the quartz and I got the gold I need. Hmm. Yeah, so I need to go and get the stone and the cobblestone now. Thankfully we have the new stone cutter technology, which is amazing. No. Right, let's go to... Where am I going? The quarry. I need to go to the... Ooh, oh gosh. I need to go to the quarry for all my stone stuff. Sounds awfully quiet upstairs. Sounds like someone's... Ooh, gosh, pay attention, Harry. Someone's either fell asleep or they've moved into another room to get away from people. More than likely the other one. Right, what did I need? I need... clocks. Aye, we've got... I need 11 stacks of oak logs. Oof. 11 stacks and 51. So there's 9, 10, 11, and 51. Let's get a new empty shulker. 51, right. So let's quickly fly through this just to see. Oh, there we go. There's one. There's more. Oh, looks like there's a whole load in the back here. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Oh, goodness me. No, the quarry's this area, Jess. So it's 11 stacks and 51, so that's good. I need 1 stack and 11 stone. 1 stack and 11. That just goes in here. And then I need a full shulker plus 13 stacks of cobblestone. Now, let's hand this out. I have no cobblestone. Great. So I need to do a full load of this into cobblestone. And obviously, it doesn't have the fun shift space thing to redo your thing. So it's a constant clicking game here. Another 3 for the full shulker. Oh, no, I just need this one. 1, 2, 3. Right, that's a full shulker, and then it's almost 14 stacks. So there's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 61. I know, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. It's the stuff you don't see in the background when you're watching a video. Right, so that's everything we need. So, no more counting. Well, I will need to count, but not like before. Right, this is the fun part now. Because I need to start crafting. So I need to get all of the oak logs into planks, which needs another shulker box of stuff. And that's a full shulker plus 20 stacks and 12. Oh, the full shulker. 9, 18. 9, 18, 19, 948. Can I not count or something? Which, highly likely, but... See, this is why we need to count. Gremlin. This is why we need to count. So I needed... There's 12. So that's 9, 18, 19, 20, and 12. Huh. Weird. Right, so that's that done. Coal can be done. Bone meal. Yeah, blue dye is done. Right, I need a stack and 62 planks to make the trapdoors. Done that. Sand I've got, and the glass. Bone meal into dye. See, I knew it was going to be dye. I need 45. That was bang on. Love it. 1, 2, and 54. And these are all going to be sticks. Okay. And then I need 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are all going to be slabs. And I'm running out of space again. I'll show them on there. Right, now I need the chests. I need 17 stacks, 32 planks. And these are all chests. That should be 2 stacks and 12. Perfect. I've done that. Right, so I need glass now, and I need 41 white dyes. 1, 2, 3. I can see 5, 4, 5, and 8. That's all white stained glass. And then 4 and 4 gives us that. Oh, that's supposed to be sand, that's why. They all need to be like so. Pop this away. Go and grab a sand actually. Uno. No, I'll pop that in here. Right, so done that. Right, so I need 33 sticks. And same in redstone. And that's all torches. 33 redstone torches. And then I need 1, 2, 3, 4 and 56. And then all of this are going to be bows. Where's the bows? Where's the bows? So I need 9, 10, 11, and 24. And then 1 stack and 40 of these, and this is all dispensers. And that should be, yep, that's the full amount. Stacking 40. Right, so I need 16 redstone dust, 16 of them, and gold. Stacking 32. And this is all for power roofs. I can feel my throat going again. Hey. So just moving my chat stuff around again. Right, that's that done. Okay, so the purple stairs are done. I'm now getting onto the stone. So I need 30 stone. And these will be stone brick walls. Perfect. Right, iron ingots. So that's all of them, isn't it? Yep, and then... Oh no, there was supposed to be blocks of iron. Whoops. Stacking 3. Oak slab. I need 7 stacks of oak slabs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, perfect. And they are all composters. Pop that in there. Where are you getting 16,000 from? Right, I need 8 stacks of oak planks. Is that right? Yep, that's right. And a stack of redstone dust. Ah, this will be my note blocks. Yes, yes. And then I need 7 stacks and 32 planks. And then 2 stacks. There, where did I put all of them? 1, 2. I can't see there. That. And this is for barrels. My throat is going every so often. I can just hear my voice hitch. So every so often. Right, so I need 13 redstone dust. I need 39 stone and 26 redstone torches. Where did I put the stone? There. How much do I need? 39. That's repeaters. Right, okay. Now comparators, 6 stone, 2 quartz, 1, 2. And 6 torches. And then 6 stone. Yeah, perfect. So the comparators. Lovely. Hell yeah. Stick and cobblestone for a lever. Oh, I need more iron. Oh, I don't have any here. I need to go and get some. But that's for pistons. That's a wee second away. Let's do the other stuff. For that. 28 cobblestone. For droppers. Oh, I need more iron ingots? Jeez, I really messed up here. Right, so cobblestone. Right, so I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stacks and 44 redstone dust. Okay, and then I need 9, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cobblestone, and this is all for... Oh, I need the... Why do I have glass? With the quartz as well. So I need all of the observers. That should be 3 stacks and fit... Oh, no. Huh. Have I lost them? Ooh, okay. I need to see if I have any spare. Just lying around. I have quartz and I have that. I don't know if I have enough cobblestone though. Oh, need 2 quartz. No, I don't. I need 2 redstone. Wait. Oh. I thought I'd seen observers in there, but it was my inventory. There we go. So that's the full amount. So weird. Right, so I need to go and get iron. Huh. Can't believe I actually forgot that. Right, so I need 11, 12, just do 13 stacks of iron ingots. Ooh, that should be enough. There's 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll put them all back in there. So then there's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It should do us, hopefully. Right, what do I need? I need all the iron, I need the chests. Oh, I don't need all of the chests. That should all be hoppers, so that's 2 stacks and 8, yep. Yeah, I can fit them there, perfect. And then, oh, planks I need 1, 2. 3, 4, yep, and then there should be 6 stacks and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, see, there was definitely something that went wrong there. So 6 stacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 4. Oh, I'm an numpty. 1, 2. That should be 6 stacks and 4. Yep. And then I need the redstone dust, which is 1 stack and 33. And that should be for pistons. So that should do 6 stack and 33. Yeah. Right, that should be everything. What's in here I don't need? I don't need that. That I will keep just in case. I need the chests. Right, this should be everything I need, so open that up. The water buckets, yeah, I get. And the trapdoors are in here because I am such an idiot to forget them. And that should be everything. Yeah. Clear ignored. Refresh. And apart from the water buckets, that is everything. So that is everything ready for the bone meal farm. Jeez, that's just one bone meal farm. And I need to do that another like 12 times. That's going to be horrible. It's going to be absolutely horrible. But I think that's all I've got time for tonight, folks. So thanks so much for joining us. We're going to go off and raid someone real quick. Who be live? Who is live? Same category. I'm following. Who are we gonna do? No, we'll go do Shauna. Shauna is live, so I'll go do Shauna. On YouTube, we're gonna go and jump over to Flip, but first off, I have 5 other memberships I can give out, and away to go. Awesome. So thanks everybody for joining me. I hope you all had a great night. I hope you had fun. I know it's been a while since I last streamed, but yeah, we'll go and raid Shauna. Messages in the chat, go and copy it and jump on over, and I will see you all next time when I stream. Don't know when that'll be, so just be on the watch out for it. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you all next time.